We are diving deep today into a story that's so monumental, its history is treated as prophecy. We've got a fantastic stack of source material here linking ancient mythology, intense political symbolism, and some very specific prophetic warnings.
It's a huge topic.
It is. So our mission is to analyze this startling parallel that the sources assert between the legendary fall of Atlantis and, well, the predicted future of the USA.
It's a remarkable framework they build. Our sources don't treat Atlantis as just, a potential historical footnote.
No, not at all.
They present it as a critical time marker, a template for cosmic cycles that involve divine judgment, and crucially, the engineered emergence of a new world order.
And when you look at the myth of Atlantis, you immediately think of the Golden Age.
Yeah.
The sources really hammered this point home. This wasn't just some powerful society. It was one that reached unparalleled technological sophistication.
Right. We're talking advanced physics, knowledge of flight, even systems like free energy.
A civilization at its absolute peak, but one that ultimately paid the ultimate price for its hubris. So let's start at the beginning of the myth. For you listening who might need a quick refresher, where does the story of Atlantis actually come from?
The foundational source traces back to Plato's dialogues, Timaeus and Critias. This was around 360 BC.
Okay.
And Plato didn't just invent it. He claimed he got the story from the statesman Solon, who in turn heard the accounts from Egyptian priests. They described this highly advanced community situated outside the Pillars of Hercules.
Which is the Straits of Gibraltar.
Exactly. But the sources, they move quickly past the geography and dive right into the supernatural origins of the ruling class. Who established Atlantis, according to this material?
Yeah, who was in charge?
It was asserted to be Poseidon, the god of the sea. And the sources explicitly equate him with Lucifer, or Neptune. It was ruled by what they describe as demigods.
And we should probably clarify that term. The material connects this to Genesis, right?
It does, directly to Genesis chapter 6. The suggestion is that these were hybrids, the product of the union between fallen angels and human women, which produced the giants, or what ancient texts call the Rephaim.
So a civilization built on this incredible advanced knowledge, but at its root, there's corruption and supernatural transgression. Given that, what triggered the fall? What happened to this golden city?
The primary driver, according to all the accounts, was pride, arrogance, fueled by, material greed. The city itself, which was architecturally stunning, reportedly laid out in these concentric circular rings with a huge temple to Poseidon, it just grew utterly corrupt.
And the judgment was quick.
Swift. A massive cataclysm. Violent earthquakes, gigantic waves, and the entire island continent sank beneath the sea.
This is where the dating and the theories get really complicated. When did this happen? What supposedly caused it?
The prevailing theory ties it to the Younger Dryas event. That was a sudden return to near glacial conditions around 10,000 BC. But what's really crucial here for the spiritual parallel is that the source material connects this Younger Dryas destruction to the Bible's gap theory.
Hold on, let's clarify that for everyone listening. What exactly is the gap theory? How does that relate to Atlantis making the earth formless and void?
It's a great question. The gap theory suggests there was a huge indeterminate period of time between the first verse of Genesis, in the beginning God created the heaven and the earth, and the second verse where the earth was without form and void.
So there's a gap in time.
A gap. The theory suggests the earth had already existed, but was destroyed, made formless and void by a pre-Adamic judgment. And according to our sources, that judgment was the destruction of Atlantis.
Wow. And they're careful to separate this from Noah's flood.
Oh, yeah, they explicitly differentiate it. They date Noah's flood much later, around 2500 BC. They also offer an alternative cause for the sinking, a flyby of the rogue planet X disrupting Earth's crust.
So whether it was 10,000 BC or some other time, the knowledge Atlantis had was immense. Did all of that, the free energy, the advanced math, did it all just disappear forever?
Not according to this narrative, no. The sources assert that the sages of Atlantis saw their doom coming. They had a plan to preserve their technology and secrets.
And where did they take it?
A great portion of that knowledge was transferred to Egypt just before the cataclysm. And in one of the most intriguing claims, this secret wisdom is believed to be safeguarded in a hidden subterranean chamber.
Where?
To this day, under the Great Sphinx's right paw.
That is a staggering thought. A potential library of advanced physics just sitting there untouched for millennia.
Yeah.
If it's not lost, how does this knowledge manifest today?
The argument is that this advanced knowledge complex, math, physics, computing power, it only trickles down to the masses through specific technologies.
Like what?
The material points to AI, to CERN, the internet, cell phones, claiming these are just vestiges of Atlantean knowledge only accessible through, specific controlling secret societies.
Which brings us right to the parallel. This idea of America being the new Atlantis, it isn't a modern conspiracy theory. It actually has these historical utopian roots.
Precisely. The concept was first laid out by Francis Bacon in his unfinished work, The New Atlantis. Bacon presented a utopian vision of a society called Ben Salem, dedicated to science, knowledge, and moral governance.
And he saw America as the heir to that.
He asserted that the American Republic, with its focus on innovation and enlightenment, was the legitimate, direct inheritor of that Atlantean ideal.
But the sources we're looking at, they connect this to something deeper than just enlightenment. They layer a profound esoteric purpose onto the founding of the USA.
They absolutely do. The material connects this foundational vision to what it calls Luciferian esoteric nuances. It asserts that the USA was specifically established and is being primed to birth the new golden age.
So not a coincidence, a deliberate continuation.
A deliberate spiritual and occult continuation of the original Atlantean enterprise.
And if the USA is the new Atlantis, then it logically follows that it's headed for the same catastrophic fate. Submergence, both geographically and metaphorically.
Right. And the geographical fears they cite are pretty stark.
What kind of evidence do the sources offer that this is impending?
The sources cite reports of people having intense dreams and visions of the USA being split down the middle.
Where?
At the New Madrid fault line, with massive water inundation engulfing huge portions of the country. This isn't just a metaphorical collapse they're talking about, it's literal seismic destruction.
Are there any practical preparations that the sources point to as, evidence that someone in charge is anticipating this?
Yes. The material highlights the observed relocation of critical U.S. spy agencies' operations and other essential government infrastructure out of vulnerable coastal areas.
And into where?
Secure inland regions, like the Rocky Mountains or the Ozarks. This is cited as suggestive preparation for a cataclysm that will fundamentally redefine the continent.
It's interesting how they weave the geography of judgment into the history of the original transgression. We mentioned the 33rd parallel earlier.
Right. The city of Atlanta, Georgia, sits precisely on the 33rd parallel. In esoteric thought, this latitude it's profoundly significant.
How so?
It's often linked to Mount Hermon in the Middle East, which is cited as the exact location where the original fallen angels, the progenitors of the Rephaim, first descended to Earth. So the geography itself is encoded with the origin of the corruption.
That specific detail certainly connects the anticipated judgment to the origins of the original sin, so to speak. Now, if we look at the societal parallel, like Atlantis, the USA is judged for its arrogance and pride.
That is the core moral symmetry. Atlantis was destroyed for technological hubris and moral decay. The USA today is judged for its own unparalleled technological advances, AI, quantum computing, crypto, biometrics. This mastery, disconnected from divine morality, is what makes it primed to be judged.
Mirroring the Atlantean collapse.
Exactly. And the rhetoric we hear from the political sphere seems to constantly reference this promised cyclical return, this new dawn.
That's a great point.
The observation is made that the rhetoric of the new dawn, or the golden age, is prevalent across the political spectrum. They cite leaders like Obama, Biden, and particularly Trump. The assertion is that regardless of party, this language speaks to a hidden spiritual expectation for this prophesied return.
This brings us to a specific, really striking symbol noted in the sources, the fixation on gold. They link it directly to the fall of Atlantis.
They do. They explicitly connect the modern fascination with gold symbolism to the rule of Poseidon, the gold-wielding ruler of Atlantis. The existence of golden statues of political figures is cited as a direct modern parallel.
That's an extraordinary assertion, drawing such a direct line. How do the sources support this claim of a fixation?
It relies heavily on anecdotal evidence, specifically descriptions of decorative changes made to the Oval Office and residence. We don't need a detailed inventory, but the core idea is there was this influx of opulent golden items. Gold eagles, gilded mirrors, gold medallions.
And the explanation given for these symbols is key to the source's argument about pride.
Absolutely. The source highlights a quote about gold cherubs installed above the Oval Office doors, where the political figure said, "They say angels bring good luck, and we need a lot of luck in this country."
So a reliance on golden symbolism and luck, not spiritual humility.
Exactly. It feeds directly into the narrative of pride and reliance on material idols, just as they believe Atlantis did.
So if we follow this logic, the judgment of Atlantis and the anticipated judgment of the USA aren't isolated events. They're part of a massive, overarching cosmological cycle. Let's pivot from terrestrial politics to the cosmic conflict. What is the astronomical context here?
Okay, so we have to look at the concept of the ages, governed by the precessional cycle, or the Great Year, a cycle that lasts about 26,000 years. The sources state that the current age of Pisces, which has spanned about 2,000 years, is ending. The Earth is shifting into the age of Aquarius.
For those unfamiliar, what's the significance of that? What does the age of Aquarius represent?
The age of Aquarius is awaited by many in the New Age movement as a time of global peace, enlightenment, a kind of ascension. They see it as the reestablishment of the Atlantean Golden Age.
But the source material frames this very differently.
Starkly different terms. It is labeled a Luciferian deception, intended to reset the world after what they term the Rapture Reset.
And this brings us back to the Rephaim. The sources claim the fallen angels are making a comeback, but with new identity.
Correct. The core conspiracy is that these same entities are now presenting themselves not as angels or demons, but as ancient astronauts. They claim to be the lost Atlanteans who originally seeded and bioengineered mankind, who they call the Adamu.
And there's an asserted literary attempt to create a counterfeit creation story to validate this.
That's the interpretation given to ancient texts like the Lost Book of Enki. The source frames it as Lucifer's deliberate attempt to provide an alternative narrative that directly parallels and subverts Genesis.
What's an example of that?
For instance, in the Enki narrative, creation allegedly took 40 days, which mirrors the 40 days Jehovah dictated the Torah, and Enki commanded records be placed in a golden box, directly mimicking the Ark of the Covenant.
So they're trying to create a historical counterclaim to the biblical God. The sources even name the major players in this asserted creation.
They do. The material names 4 major figures from the planet Nibiru mythos: Alalu, Enki, Enlil, and Ninmah, who is cited as the first science officer responsible for the genetic manipulation.
If we connect this historical genetic manipulation to today, the sources see a current technological parallel involving our DNA.
This links directly to a prophecy in the book of Daniel, which foretells the last days will involve a mixing of clay with iron. The sources interpret clay as mankind's natural creation, and iron as technology, or in this case, manipulated DNA. And the key is that this mixture can't go here. It's an inherently unstable, sinful state of being.
And how is this mixing supposedly happening now?
They connect it to modern practices like mRNA technology, which fundamentally alters the body's genetic instruction set. And this genetic alteration provides the context for the consensus they cite around alien abductions involving sexual experimentation and genetic alterations.
So a continuation of the genetic corruption from Genesis 6.
Precisely. And the ultimate deception culminates in the transhumanist movement.
The merging of man and machine.
Yes. It's viewed as Lucifer's ultimate enterprise to achieve immortality, but in a state of sin. The sources claim this movement is actively searching for the so-called God gene to complete this. This path, they warn, requires humanity to reject the mark of the beast to avoid eternal condemnation.
And inevitably, just like Atlantis, this new world order is followed by a final worldwide calamity, clearing the slate again.
The coming tribulation period, the last 7 years of human history from Revelation, is described with calamities that directly echo Atlantis' destruction. Mass death, hail and fire, asteroid impacts, a violent pole shift, total darkness.
It's a staggering cycle of destruction and attempted recreation. The Luciferian enterprise to reestablish their golden age will be incredibly short-lived then.
That's the conclusion. The parallel ends with the destruction of that coming new kingdom, mirroring the end of Atlantis, and finally being stopped by the arrival of the rightful king of Earth at the second coming.
So, what does this all mean for us now? The core takeaway here seems to be that the myth of Atlantis teaches that unsurpassed technological success, when coupled with extreme pride, inevitably leads to divine judgment and a metaphorical sinking.
Absolutely. The source material views the USA's current destabilization, financial, political, social, not as a crisis, but as an engineered prelude. This downfall is merely the passing of the baton to a new world order.
So the destruction of the current empire is designed to clear the slate for that new order to rise.
That's the assertion. It's the ultimate cycle.
It really is.
Yeah.
Given the historical and prophetic focus on cosmic cycles and technological hubris, and the assertion that the destruction of Atlantis made the Earth formless and void before Adam, this raises an important question for you to mull over. What does the source imply about the true scale and potential origin of the next extension level event? What stands out to you?